2 vocational colleges. One of Lafayette's biggest attractions is the annual Cajun Heartland State Fair, which is an 11-day fair held at the Cajun Dome and Convention Center. The fair is extremely popular and attracts huge crowds each year. Sports are quite popular in the area, and there are a plethora of sporting complexes locally, including Planet Ice Skating and Hockey Arena, Evangeline Downs, Blackham Coliseum, and the Cajun Dome, Cajun Field, and the Earl K. Long Gymnasium. Allen should not have even had access to the firearm he used to murder innocent people selfishly. Allen was involuntarily committed to a mental health institution in 2008, located in Georgia, which automatically prohibits the possession or purchase of a firearm. However, it was later determined that only a mental health evaluation was ordered. Allen was never actually committed. After the assessment, Allen was supposed to be released, voluntarily commit himself, or someone else would have to petition the court to have him involuntarily committed. The research didn't provide the outcome of the evaluation, however, since it was never reported to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Allen was most likely released. Allen was born into an average, middle-class family, and his parents were well known in the community. Allen's dad was a local tax commissioner and a nearby country club member, and his brother was a successful stockbroker for Merrill Lynch. Yet, despite the family's strong community ties, those that attended school with Allen called him a racist and recalled him as having issues with women. A classic chauvinist, Allen didn't think that women should have a say in anything.
We grew up in a very average middle America family that we love. I mean, all I can think of is my family growing up. We had a great family. We had fun. He was my younger brother. We had fun with him. We played a lot of golf. He played baseball, football. I mean, just everything you would do with your brother. But then something started changing with him, and we don't know the answer to that. We don't know why. You know, I wish I had the answer for you. I wish I could tell you something.
Raised in Columbus, Georgia, Allen graduated from Columbus High School and went on to attend college. He graduated from Faulkner Law School in Montgomery, Alabama. However, he never took the bar exam. He also graduated from Columbus State University with a degree in accounting. He eventually became estranged from his family and was described by the family as a drifter. Allen had several brushes with the law, including an arrest in 1989 after discovering that he was plotting to burn down a lawyer's office. He was accused of hiring a man to set a lawyer's office on fire. Allegedly, the lawyer represented various movie theaters that played pornographic videos. The person who turned Allen into the authorities was a police informant. Yet there was no punishment. Instead, it was agreed upon that Allen would simply get mental health treatment. Then he wouldn't be prosecuted. Spending the majority of his life living in small towns along the Georgia-Alabama line, Allen owned 2 different bars at various points in his life. When he was only 23 years old, he bought his first restaurant and then sold it in 1980. The bar was located in Columbia, Georgia, and he owned it from 1979 to 1980. He then purchased another pub that he ran for a time, but in 1999 he was charged for furnishing alcohol to minors at his pub in LaGrange, Georgia. He became so enraged with getting ticketed that he decided to hang a giant flag that was about the size of a bedsheet on the pub's building. It bore a swastika. He did this to make the statement that he thought law enforcement and the courts were acting like Nazis. The pseudo-flag hung there for several weeks, but it's frankly incredibly shocking that it was allowed to hang for even 1 hour. Because Allen continued to sell alcohol to minors, his liquor license was revoked in 2001 by the city of LaGrange. Additional offenses included a 1999 arrest for public drunkenness and public intoxication.
We know he had some contacts early on in the city with some businesses, but nothing that would have alerted anyone to think that maybe we need to call law enforcement about this fella or anything like that.
Alan also enjoyed the political scene and was involved in local politics, even running for city tax commissioner in 1996. This was a seat his dad had previously held. During the election, though, Alan was accused of stealing his opponent's yard signs from other people's yards. He was charged for theft by taking, with the taking being the yard signs. At that point, he withdrew from the election. Interestingly, in 1993, Alan made several appearances on a morning TV show called Rise and Shine as a guest host. He elaborated on his LinkedIn page, saying he, quote, invited political controversy on every one of them and loved every minute of it, referring to his time on the show. His extreme views caused outrage from the viewers, but like most reality TV, made good TV and good ratings. Alan stopped being invited on the show after he accused a locally respected official of embezzling money, and he was genuinely outraged after he wasn't invited anymore. He considered himself a public activist and was very vocal about local tax issues. On the other hand, he was also quite outspoken about his distrust of the government, which likely rubbed some people the wrong way. Alan was married to his wife in 1983, and together they enjoyed attending their local church. His wife was said to have the most lovely singing voice. Sadly, things between the couple weren't always good, and on October 23, 2005, Alan's wife accused him of domestic violence. The case was never prosecuted because she didn't want to press charges. She just wanted the incident recorded. In 2006, Alan attempted to get a CPL, or a concealed pistol license, but he was denied because of the previous arson arrest and domestic violence complaint. In 2008 and 2009, Alan was treated for mental health issues at the East Alabama Mental Health Center. His wife reported that Alan suffered from manic depression and bipolar disorder. He was prescribed medication and was required to take it daily, but he often forgot the meds. Alan also forgot to eat sometimes, which caused terrible moods and erratic behavior. In 2008, his wife, daughter's fiancé, and parents issued a protective order against Alan pending a mental health evaluation. Alan's behavior had become violent and erratic because he wanted to stop his daughter from marrying her fiancé and indicated that he would do whatever it took to make sure the wedding didn't happen. He was ordered to stay at least 100 yards away from all protected parties and was forbidden from contacting them in any way.
We saw in there that there was a restraining order put against him, that his wife was fearful of him, his daughter was fearful of him.
The disturbing behavior escalated. At one point, when Alan was going to be evicted from his home in Alabama, he booby-trapped and damaged the home by removing the logs from the fireplace and twisting out and igniting the gas starter tubes. Ugh. At one point, when Alan was going to be evicted from his home in Alabama, he booby-trapped and damaged the home by removing the logs from the fireplace and twisting out and igniting the gas starter tube, so if someone turned on the fireplace, the whole house would burst into flames. Doing further damage to the rental house, Alan poured cement down the plumbing lines, tampered with natural gas lines, and planted buckets of human feces around the home. The unhealthy behavior didn't end there. Alan never cleaned the swimming pool, and then proceeded to dump hundreds of goldfish in the swimming pool. Some grew to over 6 inches long. Then he removed many of the goldfish, cut them into pieces, and placed them around the home and into the air vents. He squeezed epoxy into the electric outlets, then around the home and into the air vents. He squeezed epoxy into the electric outlets, light switches. It smeared it all over the walls, and buckets of kerosene and gasoline were left lying around the house. In December of 2012, a mere days before Christmas, Alan's wife filed for another PPO in Carroll County, Georgia. Then she left him, officially separating that same month. After the separation, she never saw Alan. And finally, in March of 2015, she filed for divorce. A week after she filed, Alan called and threatened her. Then he drove to a retirement community where his mom lived, and once there, threatened to commit suicide if she didn't give him money. Scared, Alan's mom called his soon-to-be ex-wife and urged her to get him hospitalized as quickly as possible. But she had already tried that. She just wanted out at that point, and rather than pursuing any hospitalization, his ex-wife gave him $5,000 in cash. By all accounts and appearances, when his wife filed for divorce and his house went into foreclosure is when Alan truly seemed to lose it. He just snapped. A motive for such an unfathomable act can rarely be discerned, but that is especially so in this case. The only connection to Lafayette that Alan could be linked to was an uncle who lived there. But he died in 1980. Alan was active on online message boards where he frequently posted, praising Adolf Hitler, and was an apparent supporter of Klansmen, the Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh, and the Westboro Baptist Church. In fact, online, Alan even praised the Charleston church shooter, thanking him for the, quote, wake-up call. Alan was active on various boards where he could join white power groups. Sadly, as too often is the case, Alan's brother stated the family knew of his mental illness, but they had no idea that he was capable of such violence. There were no signs he was violent when he was a child, and the brother wasn't even aware that Alan owned a gun. Admittedly, the brother confessed that he had rarely seen or talked to Alan in the last 20 years, so he couldn't assess his brother's mental health status accurately. About a month before the shooting, Alan reached out to his brother, asking for money, but he hadn't heard from him in almost 10 years before that. The brother couldn't recall if he gave Alan the money, but he never heard from him again. Those that knew Alan report that they couldn't say they were surprised to learn what he had done. He was always a little, quote, nutty, and was never known as being quiet or all that friendly. In times more recent to the shooting, Alan was said to be selling used car parts at a flea market. He was very active on social media, talking about his anti-government and radical views, and further expressed his interest in a Greek organization with neo-Nazi beliefs. Alan's last known address in February of 2014 was listed in Phoenix City, Alabama. In the saddest and most devastating turn of events, there was never any settlement or money given to the victims of this horrible shooting. Many of them had family members who started various fundraisers, including GoFundMe accounts, to cover medical expenses for injured and killed victims. The Grand 16 Theater shooting happened only 1 week after the Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooter was convicted. These acts, shootings, and mass casualty events can never be justified. They cannot be explained or prayed away. So often, these seemingly random acts of violence are preventable. It takes each and every one of us to do our part. Speak up if someone you love or even someone you just know seems off suddenly, or speaking out about self-harm or harming others. Something as simple as saying something when you see something can be the difference between life and death. We continuously encourage the see something, say something message, because that one act could save countless lives.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Active Shooter, the podcast. Remember, if you see something, say something. There's no telling how many lives you may be saving.
A huge thank you to Darren Curtis, who composed some of the music used in this episode. Check him out at darrencurtismusic.com. DARRENCURTIS music.com.
Active shooter. Reports of an active shooter.
Active shooter.
Mass casualty incidents.
Make sure to check us out on social media. We have a discussion group on Facebook. Just search for Active Shooter, the podcast discussion group. You can also find us on Instagram at Active the Podcast and Twitter at Podcast Active. For just $1 a month, you can get access to ad-free episodes, early release episodes when available, and a shout-out on the show. Just go to patreon.com/Active the Podcast.